Greetings and salutations. I am Arceus. You've caught me at quite a wonderful time, you see. Today I would like to present my life's work, every single Pokemon game that we currently own in our collection. In the beginning, we started with 4 games: Pokemon Red, Pokemon Green in Japan, Pokemon Blue, and eventually Pokemon Yellow. And behold, the starters for this generation.
Sweet! These are our games!
I like this one.
Pokemon Blue? Sweet!
Generation 1 was the beginning for Pokemon, a genesis if you were.
Can't start the party without me.
Yeah, we can.
Ah yes, and it wouldn't be Pokemon without our precious mascot, Pikachu.
Yep, that's me.
Generation 1 wasn't just the beginning for the mainline games. Generation 1 also had its fair share of spin-offs too. We have Pokemon TCG for Game Boy, and Pokemon Pinball also for the Game Boy.
Oh, sweet! Pokemon with pinball.
We have 4 spin-offs for the N64, Pokemon Snap, Pokemon Puzzle League, and Pokemon Stadium.
Classic. Can't get more vintage than that.
There's also this one.
Hey, you Pikachu. That's a great game.
Then tell me, why is this game so unpopular amongst the critics?
Well,
I take it you 4 enjoy these games.
Of course we do. I mean, these games are almost perfect.
No! Psychic types are far too overpowered. Did I invent anything to stop them? No, for Gengar is weak to psychic attacks. They're full of glitches, bugs, and even glitch Pokemon that are not meant to be seen by the human eye. But did I do anything to stop them? No! Pointy feet attack!
Oh, dude, calm down.
I am no dude, mortal. I am Arceus, your lord, your...
sir, let's just get to the next game, shall we?
Right.
Yeah, I'm sure the next games are going.
Hey, what happened to them?
With each new generation of Pokemon comes a new set of starters. Here, the critically acclaimed Pokemon Gold and Pokemon Silver. These 2 are for Game Boy, but Pokemon Crystal is for the Game Boy Color. Although these games can also be played with the Game Boy Color as well. And each generation presents itself with new starters.
Oh yeah, I remember these.
Hey, these are the games that brought shiny Pokemon to the mainframe.
You are correct.
How great that was.
For spin-offs, we have only 2. Pokemon Puzzle Challenge for the Game Boy Color, and Pokemon Stadium 2 for the Nintendo 64. It's a shame Game Freak never made a 3rd Stadium game. Alas, as excellent as Gen 2 was, it too had its flaws. Oh, I want an Arcanine. What do you mean I have to go back to Kanto for it? The same applies for Executor? Oh, ridiculous. Oh, I'm sorry, there aren't many good bug types in this game. Heracross? Oh, yes, he's fine, but what about the rest? Oh, and dark types, let's only include them at the end of the game. And the same applies with ghost types.
Sir, please.
Pointy feet attack!
Let's move to Gen 3, shall we?
I suppose you're right. On to Gen 3.
Thanks.
Whoa, Pikachu, what?
The 3rd generation of Pokemon moved to the Game Boy Advance, as seen with Pokemon Ruby, Pokemon Sapphire, and Pokemon Emerald. Around this time, the mortals realized that Pokemon was here to stay.
Hiya, Arceus!
Precisely why they made a plethora of spin-offs. But wait, they also made remakes of Generation 1, fixing all the issues I had previously. Those games being Pokemon Fire Red and Pokemon Leaf Green.
Whee!
What the?
Knock knock. We're back, dude.
Sir, how about the spin-offs?
Of course, yes. We have one final Pokemon Pinball game, Pokemon Pinball Ruby and Sapphire for the Game Boy Advance.
Oh man.
This generation also brought the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon franchise.
Sorry.
Quite. We have Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Red Rescue Team for Game Boy Advance, and Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Blue Rescue Team for the DS.
Why would make one for GBA and one for DS? It makes no sense.
Well, you see, my child, the DS became the way of the future. Well, at least for Generation 3. As seen with Pokemon Ranger.
I didn't know Pokemon Ranger was a Gen 3 game.
It certainly was. As with these spin-offs, Pokemon Dash and Pokemon Trozei. Not as successful, but still enjoyable. Well, at least one of them was anyway.
Arceus, sir, are there any spin-offs for the GameCube?
Certainly. There are 4, such as Pokemon Channel. There's Pokemon Box Ruby and Sapphire, which is a storage system for Pokemon for Generation 3.
Smells funny.
Lastly, we have Pokemon Coliseum and Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness.
And you got to play as an Eevee. At least at Pokemon XD. Yeah. Bye-bye. We'll mix these these games so special?
What makes these games so special? The story, the music, the concepts, shadow Pokemon whose hearts have been sealed away, and the difficulty is off the chart. Pokemon XD being the hardest game in this series.
Well, I'd like you to prove that theory.
Do not defy me!
Sir, we still have a lot of games to go over. How about Generation 4? Hey, what about us?
Heavens, they're multiplying.
We're the main partners for Pokemon Ranger. We want to be starters too.
How brave.
Whoa!
Yep. On to Generation 4. For the next 2 generations, Pokemon would find its home on the Nintendo DS, with the following games. Those being Pokemon Diamond, Pokemon Pearl, and Pokemon Platinum.
Hello! Oh, nice games you got!
Indeed.
I like them too, sir.
These were the games that allowed me to be in the possession of you mortals, if you so desired, or had the courage to face off against me. And behold, 2 more remakes, Pokemon Heart Gold and Pokemon Soul Silver.
Hey, we're back.
And may I present this to you?
Oh, cool. What is it?
The Pokewalker, allowing mortals to have access to their partner Pokemon on the go. On to the spin-offs. There's quite a few, so buckle up. Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Time, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Darkness, and Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Sky. 2 more Pokemon Rangers in the form of Pokemon Ranger Shadows of Almia and Pokemon Ranger Guardian Sides.
Yay, I'm a partner Pokemon.
Me too.
Got anything for Wii?
Indeed. We have Pokemon Battle Revolution and Pokepark Wii Pikachu's Adventure. Generation 4 appeared perfect. Oh hey, this game. Nice. But then...
Oh, come on, I just got here.
Not again!
Oh, thank you. Must you do that every time?
Perhaps I must. On to the 5th generation. For the main line, we have Pokemon Black, Pokemon White, Pokemon Black 2, and Pokemon White 2.
3, 2, 1. Arceus, sir, what games do you have for us?
Unfortunately, not as many as Gen 4, my child. We shall begin with Learn with Pokemon Typing Adventure.
That game can't be real, is it?
It most certainly is. Can you not see the Nintendo seal?
Oh, well,
It has your face on the box.
okay.
Unfortunately, the Wii and DS were on their way out the door, though that didn't stop them from making Pokemon Conquest.
The game where you get me as a starter? Cool.
The other game released around this time was Pokepark 2 Wonders Beyond for the Wii.
This is the game right here. Easy 10 out of 10.
If you say so.
I mean, these games have plenty of content. What more do you want?
Black and White 2 were love letters to the franchise as a whole, by bringing back old gym leaders, old music, and plenty of older Pokemon.
And the villains are...
It's a game where the main antagonist openly tries to kill a child. Charming, isn't it?
I don't think I'm gonna sleep tonight.
Lastly, we have Pokemon Rumble Blast, and we have Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Gates to Infinity for the Nintendo 3DS.
Hey, wait, wasn't there a first Pokemon Rumble?
The first Pokemon Rumble is dead.
What? What do you mean dead?
Inaccessible.
I don't... What? Wait, you made him... Whoa! What are the dead games, sir?
Several Pokemon games have been lost to the sands of time. But for now, we present the 6th generation of Pokemon. These games were specifically for the Nintendo 3DS, although we do have one exception. For the mainline games, we have Pokemon X and Pokemon Y.
Oh, cool, new starters. I don't suspect we will be here for long.
Hey, we have X and Y. What about Z?
Perhaps if Pokemon X and Y made themselves difficult, rather than holding your hand throughout the entirety of the game, then perhaps we could have gotten Pokemon Z.
I mean, it was just a question, man. Like, shoot.
Quite. These games were also the first to introduce Mega Evolution, where specific Pokemon could Mega Evolve. Though useful for Pokemon like Pinsir, Heracross, Audino, or Lopunny, it also provided overpowered Pokemon the ability to be even more overpowered.
Dual-bladed sword, huh?
Indeed. We also have 2 remakes as well, Pokemon Omega Ruby and Pokemon Alpha Sapphire.
Aw man, I was just in the middle of a nap.
In terms of remakes, these 2 are rather wonderful, and the Mega Evolution works itself rather well into the plot.
Oh, yay! For a minute, I thought he was gonna be grumpy again.
We have 4 spin-offs, 3 for 3DS and 1 for Wii U. Those being Pokemon Super Mystery Dungeon, Pokemon Rumble World, and Pokemon Art Academy. As for the Wii U game, we have Pokken Tournament. For Pokemon, it would appear there was no slowing down, and there was nothing but blue skies ahead. Or was there?
Uh-oh.
Whoa.
Hey, watch this.
On to Generation 7. We shall start with Pokemon Sun and Pokemon Moon, both of which for Nintendo 3DS. Whee! Ow! We also have Pokemon Ultra Sun and Pokemon Ultra Moon. Although rather enjoyable, these games presented a plethora of controversy. Understanding that the challenge of collecting 8 badges and becoming the champion was becoming mundane, these games attempted to change things up, with island trials and trial captains and kahunas. I believe they did decently. This generation brought us Z-Crystals, a concept introduced and quickly shooed under the rug. Sorrow. Unfortunately, we cannot discuss these generations without talking about Pokemon Go.
Sir, we don't have a physical copy. It's a mobile game.
Precisely. Whether you love or hate Pokemon Go, it impacted the franchise tremendously. One such example is with Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee for the Switch, remakes of Generation 1. With a heavy emphasis on catching Pokemon akin to Pokemon Go. Why, they even included a Pokemon exclusive to Go that could be found here, Melton and Melmetal. Alongside Pokemon Go, these two games would mark the turning point for the franchise.
Oh, for good, right?
No! Remember how Generation 3 had a plethora of spin-offs to choose from?
I remember.
Well, this generation has only 2. Those 2 games being Pokken Tournament Deluxe for Nintendo Switch and Detective Pikachu for 3DS.
So that's what inspired the movie.
Ah yes, the film with the hyper-realistic graphics, the one that no one seems to acknowledge in this day and age.
Well, hey, it still paved the way for future projects.
Yes, in a way, you could consider Generation 7 as the last good generation of Pokemon.
I mean, they're still good. There's...
Silence! Whee!
Oh, not again!
For Generation 8, controversy arose when you found out you couldn't, in fact, catch them all.
Is this the National Dex thing, sir?
It most certainly is, where quality was no longer a priority at Game Freak. For instance, Pokemon Sword and Shield for the Nintendo Switch. Imagine, if you would, making DLC just to catch your favorite Pokemon.
Well, that would make me cry.
Then cry, child, for they made it reality. There were still pleasant elements, the new Pokemon, the characters, the music, but the graphics certainly weren't impressive.
Are you going to talk about the tree again?
No. I'm going to discuss about how the mainline games have no dialogue. Pokemon is the biggest entertainment franchise on the planet. Despite this, it seems that voice acting is not a priority. You think they'd put effort into these, and you think that they would put in these games fully textured without bugs or glitches, but no, it's as if we're back in Generation 1 again. What did this generation bring us? Dynamaxing? Oh, that's original.
Sir, calm down. Here's an idea. How about the Generation 4 remakes?
Oh, you most certainly would like that, wouldn't you?
Yes.
And so they delivered. Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. Nothing brilliant about these games in the slightest. Ugh. Now, Diamond and Pearl themselves are fantastic games. Though, do you remember when the remakes actually made the originals more tolerable? Like Generation 1.
Of course, but...
Then where is the quality with these games?
I tell you, but I don't know the answer.
All of the spin-offs are for Nintendo Switch. Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team Deluxe and new Pokemon Snap. At the very least, we got a new Pokemon Snap. Over 20 years later, Generation 8 only made one treasure. Pokemon Legends Arceus. It's a tribute to yours truly, an origin story for how Pokemon came to be, with unique gameplay as well. It's as if Pokemon is going back on the right path. What do you honestly expect Game Freak to go there? I certainly don't.
I never got any life!
Pikachu, you were wondering about the Forbidden games, yes?
Well, I was, but...
Pokemon Rumble, Pokemon Picross, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Adventure Squad, Pokemon Shuffle, Pokemon Rumble U, Pokemon Rumble Rush, Pokemon Battle Troze, and My Pokemon Ranch. All lost to the sands of time.
Isn't your son Dialga? Can't he bring them back?
Not scientifically possible!
Okay, sir. Generation 9 then?
Why, we've returned full circle. You see, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet are just like Generation 1. Incredibly fun, certainly, but full of glitches, bugs, and bad graphics aplenty. Why, I don't even remember the villains. What were they? Team Star, was it? At the very least, these games brought us plenty of new and good Pokemon, as well as Terra types. The Terrastol phenomenon. As of this video, we are currently in Generation 9, and a new Pokemon game has been announced, Pokemon Legends ZA, starring Zygarde. Will it be grand as the games of old?
Avocado!
Or shall it plummet to the depths below?
I say the most important thing is we give them time.
You see, sir, it's not good to rush the game.
And if it's delayed, then, well, they could be working on all the bugs.
For our sake, I hope so. Ah yes, one more game. Detective Pikachu returns for the Switch.
Well, that's everything.
There are still the games with Super Smash Bros. Crossover games.
Oh, well, oof.
Now, Pikachu, is where we mention your conquest, better known as Super Smash Bros. Since inception, Super Smash Bros. And Pokemon have gone together hand in hand, and being high ranked on every tier list certainly helps.
Oh, shoot, really?
We shall begin with Super Smash Bros. For Nintendo 64. You were rank 1.
Really? Well, I'm flattered, thank you.
What about me?
There's Super Smash Bros. Melee for Nintendo GameCube. Very popular amongst foxes and jigglypuffs. This game had you at rank 9th.
Well, 9th isn't that bad.
Finally, where have I been from this video?
Ow!
Next is Super Smash Bros. Brawl for Nintendo Wii. You were ranked 8th.
Finally.
You look strong. There's Super Smash Bros. For Wii U and Super Smash Bros. For Nintendo 3DS. You were ranked 15th.
Oh,
And lastly is Super Smash Bros. Ultimate for Nintendo Switch. For the longest time, you were ranked 1st.
oh yeah, uh-huh.
Before a Lego man took your title.
For a what?
Am I interrupting something here?
What do you think you're doing?
Whoa! How did I get here? You have been granted the playable status in the Super Smash Bros. Franchise. And now that the Super Smash Bros. Section is complete, let us teleport back.
What about— whoa! He is coming back, right?
Yeah, about that.
And those are all the games in Pokemon's catalog. Pikachu, you've seen through it all. What do you say about this series?
Sir, I've seen every game come and go. No matter what generation, there's still fans. Gen 1 may be buggy, but without them, we couldn't have built the series' foundation. Also, wouldn't be able to fix the bugs in Generation 2. Sure, there weren't a lot of spin-offs, but we were able to explore a former region. No other game does that. Generation 3 gave us Contest, the Battle Frontier, and fantastic spin-offs. Generation 4 gave us so many legendaries, great characters, and an unforgettable champion. Generation 5 has remarkable content, but the characters and stories truly shine here. Generation 6 may not have the most Pokemon, but the quality of each Pokemon shows, as each Pokemon is great in their own way, including the Mega Evolutions. Generation 7 has a unique region, original concepts, and the Z-Crystals. And sure, Gen 8 did not bring back the National Dex, but really, did anyone want to catch, at that time, all 890 Pokemon in one game? And with all due respect, try giving Gen 9 a chance.
Though I may not enjoy the newer games, there's still something in it for everyone. New Pokemon, fantastic music, good characters, good storylines, and the likes. Perhaps I've been a bit too judgmental all this time. So whether this is your first Pokemon experience or your 50th, I say welcome. Welcome to the world of Pokemon.
Pikachu!